Next, it's News 2. Man gets jailed for 15 years after Cork car crash. Taliban reportedly surrendered Kunduz, but who are their foreign fighters? We've the rest of the news and sport, plus young people and drink. How influenced are we by the ads? News 2 is after this break.
Now, for a roundup of today's main stories from home and abroad, it's News 2 with Sharon and Bheoláin.
Cork man gets 15-year jail sentence for manslaughter after fatal car crash kills 3 people. Confusion over reported Taliban surrender in Kunduz. But who are these foreign Taliban fighters? Young people and alcohol. How influenced are they by the adverts? Hello there, welcome to the programme. Later Eamon has the sport, including UEFA soccer action and the tricks of the smuggler, the methods they use to get drugs past customs. But first tonight, the 15-year jail sentence for a man who pulled the steering wheel from the driver of a car in which he was travelling. 29-year-old Michael O'Shea of Connolly Avenue, Mallow, admitted unlawfully killing 22-year-old Jacinta Magner and 26-year-old John Laden when the car they were travelling in struck the side of a van driven by John Madden, who also died. Jenny O'Sullivan has more.
Investigating Garda Sheila White, seen here on the left, told Cork Circuit Criminal Court that on the 30th of July 1999, Michael O'Shea and 2 others had 4 pints after work before heading by car to Mallow. At Rathduff, shortly after 9:30, O'Shea, a front seat passenger, pushed and pulled the steering wheel, causing a van driven by 20-year-old John Madden into the centre of the road, where he struck an oncoming car driven by 26-year-old farmer John Bheoláin, who was accompanied by his friend, 22-year-old Jacinta Magner. The couple died instantly and John Madden died later at Cork University Hospital. Garda Sheila White told the court there had been a similar incident before this. Addressing the court, John Madden's mother, Linda, holding up a picture of her son, said if O'Shea and his passengers had only stopped to help, instead of leaving all that carnage behind them, it might be easier to cope. Defendant Michael O'Shea, who had pleaded guilty to the charges, sobbingly apologised to all 3 families. Describing his behaviour as appalling, Judge Patrick Moran said that O'Shea had shown total disregard for the safety of his own passengers and those in other cars. He sentenced him to 15 years in prison, 5 years on each count of manslaughter, and refused leave to appeal the severity of sentence.
He was my son. I was so proud of him, and I wanted to see what he was like. And I'm just glad to get the chance to talk about Johnny for a change, instead of it always just talks about the person that did it and what happened. They never talk about the families.
We just have to suffer around with the lass due to legality and missing around the public roads in this country.
The Northern Alliance has resumed its offensive against the remaining Taliban fighters inside the city of Kunduz in northern Afghanistan. But there's continuing confusion about the situation, where many of the foreign Taliban have said they will fight to the death. From the front line, our deputy foreign editor, Walt Kilroy, reports.
This was supposed to be the day when the Afghan Taliban, at least, would hand themselves over to the Northern Alliance. On the road again were dozens of refugees who'd escaped on foot from Kunduz. Some said that the foreign Taliban had left the city for the hills, but this couldn't be confirmed.
I am very tired.
Close to the front line, soldiers from the Northern Alliance waited around for a sign to move on, or to accept the Taliban fighters as their new allies. But the Northern Alliance didn't just wait around. All afternoon, they shelled the positions believed to be held in the hills by the Taliban fighters outside Afghanistan, who weren't going to change sides. Rumours too about Northern Alliance troops entering Kunduz. Then lorries and pickup trucks moving at high speed across no man's land. It was the Taliban. It looked like a hero's return, with chaotic scenes. It was another armed group changing sides yet again. This is how much of northern Afghanistan fell to the alliance, as Taliban fighters switched allegiance and kept their arms. The handover has now begun. Local Taliban forces have been driving through in their pickup trucks. More are due shortly. Some of them have shouted, "Long live the Northern Alliance," as they come through and have been greeted by cheering troops here. The easy part of the planned handover, it seemed, was now over.
Heavy shelling around the ancient city of Kunduz. The fate of thousands of foreign fighters hangs in the balance. Renowned for their fierceness, they vowed to fight to the death, and unlike their Taliban cohorts, show no sign of relinquishing their last northern bastion. They came to Afghanistan to launch their holy war from Saudi Arabia, Egypt, Syria, Pakistan and Uzbekistan and Chechnya. Most arrived during the early 80s, their mission to help overthrow Afghanistan's Soviet oppressors. The rebels' victory over a superpower, the first clear-cut military victory by an Islamic force, made Afghanistan a mecca for would-be holy warriors all over the world and provided new recruits for Osama bin Laden's Al-Qaeda group. Ironically, their arrival was initially welcomed by all, including the US, who along with Pakistan helped create the Afghan rebel force.
They were the ideological leaders of the Taliban, if you like, the Islamic gurus. They brought in money, they employed people, they were employers often in their own rights as well. So altogether they became very much integrated into the Taliban society and establishment.
These foreign fighters have proved crucial to the survival of the Taliban, whose leaders are former religious students with limited military expertise. Unlike local fighters, these men cannot be bribed into defecting or persuaded to surrender. Curiously, their backgrounds are often privileged by Arab standards.
They've got often a secondary and sometimes university educations, and often they come from middle-class backgrounds whose parents often were in the fight, in the struggle for the liberation of Arab countries from colonialism, or in order to make society more just along Islamic lines.
The future of these Islamic diehards is tonight uncertain. Those who survived the Kunduz siege will unlikely be invited to stay in Afghanistan, nor will they find a welcome in their own countries. A man in his 70s has been killed in a road traffic accident near Ovens in County Cork. It happened at around 6:30 this evening, but next we'll catch up with some of today's other main news with Bethan Kilfoyle.
3 senior Gardaí have been named in the High Court as leading conspirators in a campaign against the McBrearty family in County Donegal. The court was told that the 3, a chief superintendent, a superintendent and a detective inspector, conspired together and with criminal elements in the county against the McBreartys. A court in London has remanded 2 men in custody charged with explosions thought to be the work of dissident Irish Republicans. They were arrested last week during a Scotland Yard anti-terrorist operation in London, Yorkshire and Liverpool. The 2 men are due in the Old Bailey next week. Gardaí have named the man who was shot dead in Santry, North Dublin last night as 49-year-old Gerald Fitzgerald from Rathbilly Drive in Finglas. Detectives suspect it was a gangland killing. Mr Fitzgerald had a number of convictions, but his family deny he was involved in drugs. Wicklow County Council say they'll conduct a full and thorough investigation